Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, including Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, and Rick and Morty. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hello.
Today, Delaney and I will be discussing the latest episode of Steven Universe, Back to the Barn. We cover Steven Universe every week here on Overly Animated, and you can find out more about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. Spoilers, of course, for this episode and everything about Steven Universe, and let's get right into it, Delaney. What did you think of Back to the Barn?
I loved it. It was great. I'd been missing kind of, the gyms, and we finally had, some more gyms in an episode.
That's true, I forgot about that. This is our first non-Peridot Steven gem episode in a while, yeah.
Yep. And just in general, just we had the gyms, and then Pearl is, of course, great. And I don't know, it was just really funny. Peridot is me. I am Peridot. And
you mean Peridot to you because you're also short and feisty?
Yep, true facts. Peridot and I are probably the same height, which I'm fine with. Peridot and I can be bros, even though she was a jerk to Pearl. But I don't know, it was a good episode. We get more we continue to build the mythology of which is to be so far, and we're finally building mythology is just interesting. And and of course we'd had the hinted at, you're a Pearl, and it's like that means there's plural. So
yeah,
this is I'm glad to see that we're going somewhere, and I'm really excited to see what more we're going to learn and how far this is going to take us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, what an absolutely wonderful episode of television this was. What a nice change. I am completely and utterly positive about this episode. I did like last.
Were you not happy about last week?
No, I did. I very much liked last week's, but I don't know. I often find myself finding things to complain about with this show. I have nothing here. It was near perfect television. This episode was subtly about preconceived notions and bigotry, about self-esteem and moving beyond the definitions that society places you in, and it does all of it subtly, like the show does so frequently, and it does it so well.
But not so subtly that it's missed.
Definitely,
you very clearly get the point.
There's
which is awesome.
Yeah, I do think that
if
there's one criticism to be made, that at times this episode is a little on the nose. It's
preaching in the sinuses, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's the problem. Isn't that it's preachy? I don't think there is a problem, but I could see someone saying oh, it's just very blatant with the analogies that we're going with Pearl and Peridot. But I think it was handled incredibly well. It's possible that because it's basically the dialogue is very concentrated on the message. Which the show does sometimes, and I think it's refreshing because the show often is just very subtle. So this type of thing I think works.
It didn't seem forced. This is also honestly how Pearl talks a lot.
Yeah. And
Peridot is very cut and dry, so it didn't seem forced. It can be on the nose, but characters can be on the nose, and I don't think any of it was forced or out of character. It was very and we weren't surprised to see something like this in the show, because this is just very Steven Universe.
Yeah, and I agree with all points there. And Pearl is the character you want to say your blatant dialogue, because that's just how she is. Another thing is, much like Sworn to the Sword, which I think this is the best episode of the series since Sworn to the Sword. Is that true? Yeah, I think that's true. This episode contains new mythology, which is completely unsurprising to us. It's quote unquote new mythology, right? Sworn to the Sword had it seems like one of its episodes that's trying to reveal a lot of things, but it is only revealing things that we basically already knew, and that happens again here. But I don't think it's a problem for either episode. I like that it's stated more fully here. We knew from the finale of season 1 that there are many pearls, and we knew from a recent episode when she said a lowly pearl or something like that. We knew that there's probably a servant class. This was one of the most frequent metas about the show, and it turns out to be very true here. We don't learn anything in detail, and we'll go over everything that we do learn, but that's not the point of this. Again, it's never the point of the show, the mythology reveals. It's how it works for Pearl's character and how it works for Peridot's character. They're Peridot kind of changing Pearl continuing her previous overcoming of kind of her self-esteem issues from her designated function, which is that angle is kind of new and interesting. That gems kind of have this designated function.
It's very Brave New World.
Oh man! If we're gonna talk Brave New World, I'm happy. But yeah, it is yeah. And
especially given how the gems are made too.
It's unsurprising. It fits a lot with the sci-fi-ness that we're going for with the gems. It really does. It does fit their species very well from what we know of them. But yeah, this is just the best type of episode with the show. A character-driven episode that touches on the mythology, which is emotional, has great characterization. Steven shines in this episode in the background, which the show is very typical at doing and very well. It handles him very well.
He's perfect. He's perfect.
Incredibly precious as normal.
He's great.
Yeah, and I love what they're doing with it. Let's start with. I was reading Eric Thurm's AV Club review. Even though we're recording this right after the episode, he
literally 2 minutes.
He gets screeners, so we get to read it right after. And he makes he's the one who said it was a Zuko redemption style arc for Peridot a little while ago, and credit to him, it's kind of been that more so than I thought it would be.
Yes.
But I still don't think it's kind of this. I still don't think we're going toward the Peridot is good type thing, although this episode is the biggest evidence so far to support that.
Well, it's very clear that, Peridot's out for her own interests. Like, Zuko it wasn't about him, it was more about the ideal. Like, he wanted to be good. Peridot, she's just like, I just don't want to die. And then I think maybe along the way she might figure out...
Well, that's what this episode is kind of going for, right? It's like, it's starting with self-preservation for Peridot, but it's also about Peridot overcoming her bigotries from the homeworld.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if we would get into this territory, and I didn't think it would be handled as incredibly well as it was here, but I'm unsurprised that it was. Joe and Jeff are storyboarding and writing this episode, the main team, and they just constantly nail every single episode they're assigned to do. And this was just so wonderfully handled. Another comparison that Eric points out at the end of this AV Club review, which I think I pointed out in a previous podcast, so I wonder if he's listening, is that, and it's not an easy connection, it's not a hard connection to make, is that we might be going to the other side of the Zuko turning good, obviously all of this from Avatar: The Last Airbender, style thing here with field trip episodes for each character interacting with the new one of the team, which this was kind of the Pearl field trip episode, and now we might be getting Amethyst and Garnet ones next. Which is
who's going to be the Toph? Who's going to not get one?
Yeah,
probably Amethyst.
No, I feel like Amethyst would get.
I hope they all get one.
Who would be the Toph? Maybe Connie would make that type of line, Connie. Right? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We also like, where's Connie?
That's true. Connie's just in her own life, you know.
Granted, she's not always there, so.
Yeah.
Which that worked really well. Like, good job.
Good job. What?
Like, she's not always around, and there's a reason why she's not always around. It's not like with other shows where there's just a character gone. Like, Wendy's just gone for, like, ever in Gravity Falls, and there's not really a reason. That's
true, yeah. We don't get, like, specific reasons, but she's just living her life.
Well, no, we know why Connie's not there, is because her family's not there all the time.
Yeah, she's just physically not in the same place. Okay, let's go over specifics in this episode. So there's, I guess, two main components to this, right? We get the new Pearl information and how Pearl reacts to it, and Pearl's reactions aren't incredibly surprising. It's kind of her typical arc that we've seen of her overcoming this her kind of previous status, and it's, I guess, maybe the only surprising thing is how she doesn't get down at all. Like, in the past, we've had Pearl, breaking down or getting depressed, and here she's just very, very much overcoming the entire time. There's no down point for her.
Well, what's shocking, I think, to me, now that really just thinking about it right now, is that Pearl usually everything she does is very, she outthinks you. In this episode, it was very, Pearl went straight to the attack. Which, granted, that's how all the gyms have been treating Peridot. It's very much the immediate attack response. I wonder if maybe that'll get discussed later, or if that'll become a point that Pearl's getting a bit more, like, the show in general is becoming more combative, which makes sense given where the plot's going, but I wonder if we're going to have a point with Steven where it's, because we've already had mentions of this before, about, like, Steven, Steven's very much I mean, he's a sweetheart and he doesn't want people to get hurt. And I wonder if we'll have something like that happen because we are consistently going to attack first.
I mean, I don't know if it was attack first. It was kind of this long competition first, them following Steven's idea.
But I mean, and they fight at the end, but just it was surprising to me that Pearl.
You just mean them clashing in general,
yes.
even if it's like a mental clash.
Well, not just a mental clash. I mean, they fought, and it was Pearl who instigated. So. Because Pearl was like, will Pearl do this? And then, like, Pearl started the fight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that goes along with her character, too, a lot. She's not, she's pretty combative, Pearl. But yeah, that's true. They're kind of treating Peridot differently than they would themselves. Even though, Pearl would fight with Amethyst and stuff. They seem pretty willing to take her on. Which is true. It's because that's their dynamic with Peridot in the past, is they just been chasing around and fighting her for most of the season. Here,
it's very Disney villain like, not Disney. I mean, not like Disney movie, but like Kim Possible and things like that. The very much the constant fighting and then like immediate attack, and there's always like a moment or two where it's like we can't fight right now. We have something else we have to deal with, and
yeah, that was that dynamic before, yeah. The Pearl. Okay, let's go over the Pearl new information, and then a Pearl. Okay, so quotes from the episode. There's a clip of this before, so I'd seen this scene, but the Amethyst or Peridot in the barn was like, "You can go now. That will be all." And Pearl can't build a thing like that. Pearls aren't for this. They're for standing around and looking nice and holding your stuff for you. She's a Pearl. She's a made-to-order servant, just like the hundreds of other Pearls being flaunted around on Homeworld. A fancy one, too. Interesting. Did you think Pearl would be a fancy Pearl?
I'm not... Well, she was Rose's Pearl, so I think what's...
Very clearly?
Very clearly, she's Rose's Pearl. That was so obvious to me in this episode. And then when she
They haven't stated that on the show.
I think that's the easiest inference to make, especially when she got very upset. I mean, obviously it's understandable why she got upset about who do you belong to, but I think there might have been a twist on that too, is why she got upset is because she belonged to Rose. And I think and as much as we want, Rose Pearl forever, yes, but I think we're introducing this dynamic, and it very much could have been servant and master relationship. And I mean, obviously I don't think Rose necessarily like treated her as much of a servant, but it very much could have been this devotion that might not have been returned, because now that we have this new dynamic.
When does
because Pearl learned how to fight, but she was also very clearly Rose's squire. Like, I think there is a scene where she carries Rose's stuff in the battle scene.
Probably, I think at the very least a flag. Yeah. This is good analysis. Does Peridot ask who do you belong to here? I don't know if I have that written down.
She was like, "You're very fancy one too." She's like, "Who do you belong to?"
Okay.
Like, that's when she grabs her it's not her tail, but like she grabs the piece of fabric.
Interesting. Yeah.
She's looking for like a label, like something to who do you belong to?
Yeah, good analysis from you on that. I didn't necessarily think of that. It's I've kind of been of the opinion, expressed this on recent podcasts, that I'm not super into actually shipping, Pearl and Rose, because I feel like Rose might be a negative. Obviously she's very important to Pearl, but overall, I feel like, and so she might be like a negative force on Pearl, and Pearl needs to break free of that. And
that's
not that
it's it'd just be really great for the show, but
not that it's anything intentional from Rose to being manipulative, but this episode might add to that, in that if they have that Pearl needs to break free of her previous subservient relationship, even if it's turned into love, there's still that subservient element, which probably isn't very healthy.
And this puts so much new context. Oh, the accent came back with a vengeance. I went up north and it got worse.
That's good.
This puts a lot of context, puts a completely new context to do it for her, because that episode and song already had a
a clear subservient thing to it
Yes.
because it's all about being someone's knight.
Yeah.
But this, you're right. This is a great companion piece to that. But in terms of
I think,
literal
and I mean, I
ownership.
definitely like that was like immediately I was like, she's Rose's pearl. Like that's so. It was just very clear to me. I mean, obviously we could go a different direction with it. Maybe Rose helped free Pearl, but I think and of course, kind of the whole like, you want to go with what's the most obvious, like what's usually the easiest answer is the answer. I do think Rose is Pearl is Rose's pearl.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The only problem with me thinking this through is that this is kind of one of these popular fan theories in the past. So I'm trying to think of it specifically for this episode, and I think you're probably right. I think that's what this episode is saying. This is a case where I feel like fan preconceived notions got in the way of me taking what's clearly from the show a little bit.
Well, I'm not as into the Steven Universe meta. I do tend to stay away. Also, I tend to be behind on Steven Universe, so I do avoid so I don't get spoiled. I mean, we knew she was a servant class, but I don't think we ever.
Well, we didn't know she was a servant class before this. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, but even
implied, yeah.
Even implied, I don't think this idea of belonging is a bit different. I think who do you like?
Oh, okay, yeah. So, So
I
then,
think that to me, that's that's the really new idea. Yes, a servant, but like this
all
is
of this is technically new, but you're right. Then Peridot's like, so a Peridot with a pearl, what would they say back home, right? So the specific belonging to a specific person, like not just a subservient worker class, but like a slave class. That is a new angle. I agree with that. Okay, so we kind of, I feel like it's important here to separate this fan preconceived from what the show is actually saying here, and the show is saying more of a slave class than a worker class, and implying this Rose pearl ownership.
Which I guess I'm just very separate from anything that's been said on Tumblr which is a shock, I know. But I think
you separate from Tumblr.
I know what I haven't encountered any of that, so I think. So
okay.
This is completely
this
is all I got from watching the episode.
We figured it out. That's good.
Cracked the code.
I like this episode even more once we bring in direct connections from Sword to the Sword. So there you go. Maybe I'll like it even more on rewatch. Pearl says, "I didn't fight a 1,000-year war for this planet's independence to take orders from you."
Nice, very sassy.
Later, okay. So then we get. I'm trying to get the new plot info stuff.
Well, I mean, we already knew this, but like, she's Peridot's a technician class. Like,
oh yeah, there's a line. I didn't like to write it down, but here's the in Eric Thurm's review. I am a natural technician and certified kindergartner, says Peridot. Yeah, I thought she'd be like a scientist class, but she's a technician and certified kindergartner. Interesting.
Which makes me think that honestly, Peridot is not a lot higher in the hierarchy than Pearl, which is probably why that whole comment of a Peridot with a Pearl, what would they say back home? Because I mean, I'm like, this is such Brave New World to me. Like that's what this is, and so we have. And I guess for those who haven't read Brave New World, like it's all hierarchy, and people are actually bred a certain way so they're happy in their class. So, which clearly isn't the case with the gems, but. So we'll have let's just if pearls are the slave class, they're at the bottom. They're the slaves, and then we might have one or two above that. But technicians, though they are trained, that's a working class still. That is, they are skilled, but they're not necessarily the most skilled workers. Like she's a technician, she has no authority.
My perception of Peridot before last episode was a high level bureaucratic scientist. However, last episode distanced her from direct action in the gem shards, and this goes directly along with it. She's a technician. She's not a scientist. She's not actually doing anything.
She's basically fixing their Wi-Fi. Like that's that's kind of her job. Like she doesn't really.
Well, she wasn't even sent there to fix it. She was just sent there to check on it. Yeah.
She's walking around with just a little. She's like, I don't know anything without my screen. She doesn't really like the best way I can think of it is so you have CSI techs who go in and like gather evidence and things. What I'm going to school to do is to take what they gather and do tests in the lab. What she is, she's a CSI tech. Like she doesn't really like. She's just there to gather info, and like they're less trained than.
It's like there's two things. She's clearly not a decision maker, but beyond that, she's also not a high skilled worker either. She's kind of a low skilled worker,
which is really interesting because we kind of. Granted, I don't know how much of this because I have seen the whole the yellow diamond Peridot joking stuff. So she's clearly like she is low man on the totem pole.
This is much different than I think she came off in the season 1 finale.
Yes.
And there's two possibilities. Possibility one is that we had a skewed perception of her because we hadn't seen other gyms and we assumed the ones we were seeing were important. Or two is that they're kind of just changing the characterization of her a little bit. Like, I feel like the season 1 finale did give off the impression of a much higher level Peridot than we're getting now. And I'm not sure if that is them kind of rewriting stuff. Not that they were rewriting, but like retconning. Not actual retconning, but like vague retconning.
They're like shifting. Because like they're not actually changing anything. It's just our perceptions. Granted, our perceptions can always be wrong. Like this happens quite frequently when you watch any sort of television.
There's two options here. Either they are intentionally retconning our previous perception. Like they wanted us to have this this high level homeworld gem perception in season 1, and now that we're getting to know her really, we figure they're intentionally shifting our perception of her to the reality of that she's much lower in the totem pole. Or two is that they kind of unintentionally did this, and giving the show credit I think is smart to do, because they do often are very smart in their maneuvering of things like this.
Well, also just the fact that when you have plural of something, like they're a pearl, a Peridot, like they're not important, air quotes, like because granted that's not. I mean that's
a little. I think that's true, but also that there's multiple diamonds, which is presumably the highest. So that's so maybe there's multiples of everyone, but that's true. She's also a Peridot. She says in this one, that we didn't know that before.
And again, like it's very Brave New Worldy, which makes me think that like the less of you there are, the more important you are in this society.
That's very possible. Because 4 diamonds, tons of pearls. Very possible.
And we're linking. I mean, that's how it worked in Brave New World. There's less alphas and betas, and of course the omegas are everywhere.
Yeah.
So, I think. Yeah, this is all clicking right now. Granted, of course, we have no idea. Like we're only seeing individuals. We haven't seen another Pearl. We haven't seen another Peridot. We haven't seen like.
To a certain extent, we're getting concrete new info, but also we're starting to get a bigger picture of
like a very, very bigger picture. And also, it makes sense just to go off the rarity of gems, like that's such a logical thing to do. Like just to have some gems are like everywhere. Like it's not hard to find certain gems like pearls.
It also just makes sense with the basic aesthetic of the show. Is what you're saying. Because they're based off of our real world precious gems, and the less diamonds, they're more rare, and they're the highest level. It just makes sense there. And it's something so simple because that's just the very basic mythology of basing it off of our precious gems. But also, it's not something. It's like not something that I want to so easily assume, because
they can also twist it too, because again they're in space.
They can also play off of our perceptions based off of that assumption too.
And they can twist it and be like like yellow diamond might not even like be it. Like there could be someone higher, and they could be like onyx or like.
I have no doubts that yellow diamond is not the highest level boss. There's no way. To finish that point, I don't think that I'm one to not so easily accept the basic connections to the direct aesthetic of the show, because it doesn't seem super. Because like I've complained about it before, it makes no sense why this is true, and I'm hoping for an mythology reasoning behind it, but also like this was probably in the DNA of the show when Rebecca Sugar thought of it, because just based on the basic aesthetic of it. Okay, more plot things. Then we'll. So after they have the robot fight, it's a tie. And then Pearl's like, we're the same, let's move on. And Peridot says, you're a Pearl, you're beneath me, I'll always be better than you, and nothing I see today will ever change that. That was the big line about prejudices in terms of thematic. And this is very super on the nose, right? This is this is basically what I was referring to. This is talking about how this is a commentary on bigotry, prejudices, societal prejudices. It's a stand-in for all the isms, you're beneath me and I'll always be better than you, and nothing I see today will ever change that. This isn't something that real world bigots say, though. So that's why it might be a little on the nose. But it maybe makes more sense for Peridot because their society is literally layered. Like people in our society have that perception, but they try to hide it. Even like subconsciously, they think, "Oh, I don't actually believe that." So it doesn't work like that in their mind. But in Peridot's society, it actually is like that. So she's much more likely to say something as blatant as this. Yeah. So I just really love that and its commentary on our world's bigotry and connections to the Gems class structure bigotry there.
Yep. I'm just so Brave New World right now.
I mean, dude, that's one of my favorite books. So you're making me want to reread it. So that's good. Of course, we'll get to the Stevens character, but stop! Giant robots shouldn't fight. Oh my god. It's so good. It's so good. That was like...
No, my favorite is that he's like, giant robots. And they're just like, yeah, this makes sense. We're going to not make the drill for like 4 hours. And we're going to have a robot fight. Like,
the Gems totally do things like that all the time.
I know they do it. It's all the time. It makes no sense. It's wonderful. And it's so clearly because it's all for Steven. And I'm just like, you all make my heart hurt.
It's like it's all for Steven. And also they just get caught up in Steven's.
Yeah, like they just get so caught up in him.
Yeah.
And which, of course, probably relates to Rose and Greg and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, many layers here, yeah.
The themes, yay.
You're an accessory, a shiny toy, I think she says that. Where do you get off acting like you're your own gem? I think she says that. I was typing very fast.
Which, again, like, it's still about the prejudice, but also very clearly reflects their society of, again, we have multiple pearls, multiple Peridots. So it's very clearly that these... Gems, which also makes sense as to why they fought their war, and it doesn't seem like it was just independence for Earth. It was independence in general for them to be their own gems. When it sounds like from Homeworld that you don't get to be your own gem. You are whatever gem you are.
What your function is assigned, and also you belong to someone else. Like literally, stop acting like you're your own gem. Like that gets back to the belonging type thing.
Yeah, like you belong to whoever.
It's becoming more clear that the Crystal Gems Rebellion was maybe just a guise for protecting the people on Earth, but is really just about them fighting for their own liberties. Yeah. Pearl says, "That's right. I'm a Pearl. What you're saying may be true, but it doesn't matter. I'm still gonna kick your butt." Okay.
They kept repeating like "kick her butt," and I was just like, "Okay."
Okay.
They said it several times.
Steven says, "If pearls really are like you say they are, Pearl isn't common at all." That's not common. He lists off stuff. That's not common. That's amazing. But I won. What about the rules? Welcome to Earth, says.
I love that. Welcome to Earth. The Peridot's just like, what?
Yeah. It's not Homeworld anymore. On one hand, that line seemed a little weird to me, but then you think, oh, it's Earth. It's not Homeworld. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's what it was. Where it was weird that like it hit me too that it was weird. I'm like, that's such a weird thing to say, but the implied is that it's not Homeworld, where clearly it's all rules.
Yeah.
Very highly structured society.
Yeah. Just so much of the Homeworld representing societal norms and the Crystal Gems rebelling against these norms. And
every single one of them, because Amethyst, who's the kindergartner, and then we have Garnet, who is like literally everything Homeworld hates.
Yeah.
And then Pearl, the servant, Pearl's the leader. Like, it kind of goes between Pearl and Garnet, but like Pearl has, like, whenever they need anything done, they're like,
she's clearly the competent one. Yeah,
like Pearl's clearly the competent one.
Yeah.
So the only one I'd really want to call incompetent would be Amethyst, but she's not incompetent. Like, she just doesn't care.
Yeah. Just this episode, and this episode's just such a stand-in for the entire show. Like I was saying, about the Homeworld being societal norms, and the Crystal Gems about breaking from these norms and being your true self. There you go. Yeah.
And they clearly represent each facet of
many facets, that you can relate society. To our own world. Yeah. And
then Rose, who, even though she's not here, Steven's not he's half gem, half human.
Yeah, I'd say that's kind of what I said. It was just kind of a thesis statement for the entire show in terms of non-literal takings from it. And the show is just this isn't one of those shows where you can or you cannot take things that aren't like literally said on the show. This is one where the subtext is very much a part of the real show.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
And at the end of the episode, Peridot says after seeing the crystal gems, congratulating and being happy with Pearl after she lost the fight. Remarkable that a Pearl such as yourself could be such a knowledgeable technician. Let's get started. So maybe overcoming
and she's holding the drill upside down.
Yeah, which is good. Overcoming these prejudices a little bit.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it had to do with that they're so clearly a family, and I get the feeling that Peridot is very confused by it all.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good aspect of it. Peridot never had a family.
Peridot wanted a hug. Like that's what.
Peridot probably looks at them and thinks Yellow Diamond never, has never done anything like this for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and that clearly like. Granted, I don't know how much of this was Peridot because I think it's becoming very obvious that Peridot. Her enhancements alone talked about how like she is kind of puffed herself up to be a lot more than she actually is, and that's when she said like praise me, and very clearly it might not even just be structured in. It's also very clearly maybe perhaps a merit-based system within your own class. On Homeworld.
Yeah, that's true, because at the end she expected just blatant rewards for winning, and then she's seeing that Peridot is getting praise for trying as hard as she did. Yeah.
Which is, again, back to Brave New World, that's how Brave New World works. It's very much you do your job, and you do your job the way you're supposed to, and you get rewarded, and just like the lower classes get more, because, it's the drug, whatever they call the drug.
Yeah.
I can't remember. That, because it keeps them dumbed down, but it makes them happy, and so they get more of the drug.
Yeah.
So it could be very similar to that.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get like a gem Brave New World drug on there, because we're seeing so many parallels. That might be a little too blatant though.
It'd be too obvious.
Okay. Before
if you haven't read Brave New World, go read it now.
I need to reread it. I haven't read it in
so good
5-6 years. I
read it senior year of high school.
Yeah, I did it twice.
Just a little bit more recent.
Because you're the baby, so that's why. Where do we think we stand with Peridot? I'm not convinced that she's not a Zuko. She hasn't done a Zuko redemption yet, and I don't think she's close.
No, she's just
beginning to overcome these prejudices and beginning to accept the family
useless.
Dynamic. Peridot is what?
Honestly useless.
Why is she useless?
Just on perspective of being on Earth, she doesn't know how anything works.
Yeah. And
she's very much right now. She's just kind of a humor component while also driving the plot. So she hasn't done anything Zuko-ish. Granted, it took Zuko a while to get there. So I think. I'm not really expecting a Zuko kind of arc. I am actually more expecting, from the Zuko, I'm actually expecting more of a Crossroads of Destiny than a Western Air Temple.
Interesting. So, in Crossroads of Destiny, spoilers, Zuko...
Spoilers, guys.
It seems Zuko has this incredible arc in Season 2, I've called it the best single character, single season arc in television history, where he... goes through all these perspective changes, much like Peridot. He's kind of brainwashed to the Fire Nation in Season 1, and he's opened up to the world as he explores the Earth Kingdom in Season 2, freed from his kind of Fire Nation things, like his weights or whatever, and he gets to a point where he could fully turn against his family and the Fire Nation and go to the people trying to take them down, and instead he reverts at the end of the season after not spending, after kind of having his eyes open, but not necessarily. It's not clear that he's completely different now. There's signs.
Yeah.
But this just so once approached by his sister at the end, he does revert back to his former self, and it's one of the most brilliant plot things that have happened in a show I've seen. The thing is, Peridot isn't even at a point where it could be super surprising when she reverts.
Yeah. Well, I can see. Well, I'm
because there's not really any reverting yet, because she hasn't even opened her eyes fully to the world.
But I was kind of talking the long game.
Yeah. Do you think that's where we're going with this?
Yes. Though I do think there's still a good chance that we could have a Western Air Temple where Zuko does join the good guys, and he does become who he has always wanted to be. But with Peridot, I could very much it's going to, I know it's going to come down to a choice between staying with the crystal gems and or betraying them or going back to Homeworld.
Yeah.
So, or allowing Homeworld rule to come to Earth, because they're not going to let the Earth get destroyed. That's obviously, like, the Earth's not going to get destroyed. Like, spoilers, obviously, like, the Earth's not going to get destroyed. We wouldn't have a show. Like, that'd be stupid.
Yeah.
But the thing is, are they going, like, what's going to happen after that? Like, how is Homeworld going to react? So that's where this comes in. Is Peridot going to stay by the crystal gems? Are we going to have a revolution? How is this going to play out? Are they just going to be left, or is Peridot going to go home and they're going to be allowed to live as they wish to live on Earth? So I think that will be the moment that we will see either Peridot,
So yeah, so let me present the I very much agree with what you're saying. So in terms of specifics, here's probably what happens. They do whatever they do to stop the cluster. And that draws back out Malachite, and then Jasper separates, and Jasper approaches Peridot and says, look, we're going back, and we're going to bring back reinforcements. And then there's Peridot's choice. I'm honestly not sure which run she'll do right now.
Yeah. I mean, we're not at a place yet to pick, but we're at a place where we see the fork in the road. It's down there, but we don't know.
And then either one, Jasper goes back, gets reinforcements, and then they come back in the season 2 finale, last one out of Beach City. And either Peridot's with them attacking again, and then we'll betray them later and pull a Zuko Western Air Temple, or she's already betrayed Jasper and stayed with the Crystal Gems. I think it's probably the first one rather than the second one. But it's interesting. And the last thing is, like, where does Lapis play into all of this? And I have no idea, honestly. Because it's even less clear where Lapis is with regards to Crystal Gems versus the Homeworld than Peridot.
Yeah, well, when you brought up Malachite, I hadn't even been thinking about that. And actually, I'm not too sold on that either, about Malachite coming back in that way.
I feel like this is the most logical place to give Peridot a choice, but you're right, it could be something else. It could just be that Peridot has the thing comes out and there's like a ship with it, or like there's some way for her to go back to the Homeworld on her own.
I actually see it more like that. I don't see it as being a direct choice. Like, I don't think it's gonna be someone telling her that she has a choice. I think it's gonna be more of Peridot, that would be what's important for her character, is that we have a moment alone with Peridot, or it's Peridot and Steven, and something happens, and Steven doesn't really quite understand what's going on, and Peridot has to make a choice. In that moment, she can't.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I right now I'm more on what I was saying before, but I could also see what you're saying. Cool. That was good
obviously
discussion.
I want Lapis back, but
I mean, I think that they're just gonna have to deal with Malachite at some point, and this seems like
definitely
a good place to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing with Lapis right now. Honestly, we'll see. Quick recounting of the other things that we didn't talk about from this episode. In the beginning, the kind of the show, Steven and Peridot were giving the crystal gems. Steven was adorbs there.
That was so. Oh my god, the box was cracking me up.
Yeah.
So
the Peridot going through the house and saying we could use a primitive radiation concentration concentrator could come in handy.
Only Steven could have stopped her before she broke his TV.
Did she break the TV?
She did. She shattered his television.
No more sad breakfast
And that's
friends.
when he was like, "Wait," and I was like, "Steven, you should have stopped her before she broke her TV."
Primitive image cube.
It's so good.
Yeah. The events. Okay. The robots. Steven wants a giant robo race with prizes.
I was right there, and I was like, the song is coming, and there was no song.
No song, I know.
I was really upset.
This episode didn't need a song, I don't think.
No,
Robo Olympics. Pearl wins the balance. Makes sense. The robots that they make are just very good representations of themselves. I like that Pearl's was taller.
No, the height was great.
Peridot wins crushing. Pearl wins ballet. Peridot wins jumping.
The ballet.
Yeah, why would they have ballet? The tree wins speed. Steven says art.
That was really funny.
Art subjective, which was great. Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Chucking cars was the final event.
And we're just like, whoa.
Yeah. It was great. And I think we did. Did we talk about everything else?
Did you get the okay, so Garnet's eating popcorn?
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Okay, thank you. Like, I was like, what is that?
I don't think it was in the review either that I read. I'm sure someone will tell us what it was.
She pulls it out and looks at it and shakes her head. And I'm like, what? Was it a part?
I thought she was just reacting to what was going on in front of her. But yeah, it seems like whatever she pulled out was something, but I had no idea what it was. No.
Yeah, like it was like a piece of popcorn, but it had like red on it. And
once again, we're doing this like right after the episode ends, and we've not rewatched it yet, so that's why. Yeah. The confusion might come up, so let us know. We'll figure it out what that was probably right after this ends. And then Steven had the hand puppet again at the end.
So he's
best line was giant robot. What was it? Giant robot. Stop! Giant robot shouldn't fight. So great. Steven.
That was so great.
Such a good Steven episode. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Other specifics you can think of, or do you want to? We didn't directly talk about Steven's character, but Precious, and it's great.
I mean, Steven's perfect. Yeah, like he is. He's literally he is Precious Cinnamon Roll. Like that's what he is. There is no other.
I don't know. I thought I declared that meme dead.
No, I don't like it, but like that's what he is. Like
as Meme King, I declared that dead a few weeks ago. So.
Yeah. Okay. No.
But he is. You're right.
Right. Meme King. Whatever.
What would you grade this episode? Eric Thurm gives it an A.
I would. So we're doing letters. I would give it an A.
I would also give it an A. It was incredible.
It was great. It was awesome. On our usual scale, I'd probably give it like a 9.6.
Yeah. On our usual scale, it's not a 10. I would give it like 9.6 or 9.7. Yeah, I agree.
So good.
There you go. Okay. I'm Dylan Hysen. That's Delaney Stovall. You can find everything out about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can support us on patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, Shayna, Mitch, Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Andy, and Jamie, aka Hannah, Fever, Mitch, Cordell, University, Beatrix Exchange, Buzz Lightyear, and Mailman. And you can get a cool nickname like that, quote unquote cool, and support us at our Patreon. Next week, we'll be covering the next episode, which is Too Far. Steven and Amethyst hear some gem gossip.
Gem
gossip, that's pretty promising in terms of mythology expansion, so I'm excited.
Yeah, please.
So let's... very excited now. Didn't expect to get such a good episode here. I was just so happy with this.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Okay. And Monday we'll be doing Gravity Falls. Heads up, which I'll post on Tumblr as well. That podcast will not come out immediately after it ends, potentially later that night or Tuesday. Last thoughts on Steven Universe, Delaney.
I'm so excited to see where we're going. Peridot is me. I love Peridot. I have a cactus stained Peridot because of that one picture. You all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just love Peridot, and to have more of her is just great. And then also Pearl,
If this season is the same structure as season 1, we are quickly approaching the mid-season finale. It's kind of messed up because we had some season 1 episodes in season 2. We just had episode number 21 in season 2, but also Say Uncle was from season 1, so I'm not sure what that is. But theoretically in 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes we'll be at the mid-season finale. Yeah, cool.
Just screaming.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.